All right, morning all. We're going to look at a couple situations to start to define what type of assist or what type of service we need to provide so that we can start to consistently score more goals. So, looking as we prepare here for River Falls. So, which assist? So, the first image, the question is what type of service? So, I believe it's Lee in this case has the ball. What type of service would we want from Lee given the characteristics that we see? The second one is this one. So now Maya's in line. What type of service would we want based on where the defenders are? So these are the two moments we're looking at. Look at where the defenders are here. Look at where the defenders are here. And how do we start to understand what type of service we want? So we'll look at the first one. So when we talk about an open box, so it's more about where's the space. So it says the win. So when the opposition backline is racing back towards their own goal, that's the cue. We've got them facing their own goal running back. Why? Why do we want this service? Because where's the space? It always comes back to where the space is. Also, this service early is really tough for defenders to deal with. We talked about this a little bit the other day. If the ball's on the ground and zipped with pace, it's really hard for defenders to deal with versus when it's in the air and we can watch it fly over all the defenders and no one has to defend it. So what's the how? So we're looking for a bent ball that swings back towards the movement of our attacking player. So if we can bend the ball, so has some curve on it, that's ideal. And then we want to be able to hit this early, first and second touch to take advantage of this situation. So this isn't where we're going to dribble. This is often someone gets the ball in space, can get their head up and find that. So if we go back to the image, it starts to say, all right, what type of service do we want? This would be an early cross, an early service situation based on how the defenders are running and facing. So there's our space. And then we would have Tally, Kaylee, all looking to attack that space with an early ball. Here's an example from Wake Forest doing it. So the ball gets played wide, first touch, early ball, and there's the opportunity. So watch again. So he doesn't take multiple touches. Defenders are racing back towards their goal. Tries to find the space. Okay, the other option is what we call a closed box or that cut back, pull back type of cross. So when are we going to use this? And this is when we start to see the defenders are back in front of their goal. They're a little bit more organized, and they're typically facing sideways or facing out. And we also have a possessor of the ball near or at the end line. So again, why do we want this? Because the ball is deep in the space, that's going to drag the defenders deeper and deeper towards their goal. And then we have space somewhere else. And then obviously, because of where the first ball is, the focus becomes really on the ball and that initial front post run. So then that will open up space for the second six. So that space between the penalty spot and the top of the six. So again, what's the how? We drive in line with our head up. We're looking for the movement. All right, that's key. As we're driving, we've got to pick our head up because we might have to release it earlier or we might have to play a slightly different space. We want to hit the ball with a good enough pace that allows the player to get onto it and finish first time and hits that second six. And then finally, the arrival movements. We can't arrive too early. The front post is there to drag. Everyone else arrives as the player drops her head to make the pass. So typically before you make your pass, you drop your head to look at the ball right away. That's when we sprint into it. And that gives us that arrival space into that area. So if we look at this again, this is kind of a tough one to be fair to Maya. She is contested. St. Olave's done a pretty good job of getting back. But you can see we're getting close to the end line. You can see where their defenders are, and that leaves space where. So if we're looking for who arrives there, maybe Tally can get into that space. If Emily Holtzman bends her run a little bit more. Because right now, Anna and Kaylee have really attracted the defenders into that space, and we want to pull the ball back. So here's an example from us against Crown. Now I want you also to see kind of what's the defender's behavior, how do they react when the ball gets in line. All these things are important. And in that example, if you look again, Denise finishes it. She starts to go to the front post. The defender follows her, and Denise reads it and pops off of that and finds the space to receive and score the goal. So again, it's not, we have ideas of where we want post covered and people to arrive in, but this is also just reading the game. So the player goes to the front post, Denise pops off, but it's that same service and it's an easier goal. All right, girls. So especially as we go tonight and we're building through the season, I think it's important that we need to move away from just trying to get a cross in to reading the situation and the type of cross we want. If we can hit an early ball, bend it, whip it in on the ground, make it tough for the defenders. If we can get in line, timing our arrival movements and getting the ball back on the ground. On the ground has been our focus. But I think if we really get these two things in our repertoire and they become habit, the goals will come.